Okay, I've just finished watching catch-up match of the day, and of course the biggest game in England is a game played tomorrow at Anfield. Now, why is this the biggest game written tomorrow? It's not only the biggest game in England written tomorrow, it is the biggest fixture in the world. Now, people may say, hold on a second, what about Barcelona, Real Madrid? Last season, United played Liverpool on the same day that Barcelona played Real Madrid. The people watching the United-Liverpool game, 700 million. The people watching the Barca-Real Madrid game, between 400 and 500 million. Which goes to prove that this fixture is the biggest draw in world football. I think it even beats Champions League and World Cup matches. It is massive. Now, why is it so massive? It's just because you're dealing with probably two of the biggest clubs, or two of the most famous clubs in domestic football. When I was getting brought up younger, there used to be a joke that there were apparently tribes in the Amazon jungle, and when they were approached for the very first time by people from the Western civilization, the only words they knew was Bobby Charlton. I think today if they were approached, they'd know a few more words like, why are you cutting down the rainforest, and why hasn't LVG been sacked yet? But that's a different thought. So anyway, moving on to this fixture. Why is it so big? It is so big because it's so popular. United now has a global reach. We're all over the world, so it means tomorrow when the game's getting kicked off, you will have people sat at home in the bedrooms, on the TVs, down in bars. Bars have opened up early, bars will sleep home late. The people waking up at 4 in the morning with a can of beer, watching the game on some sort of satellite TV or on the internet. It is huge, it is massive, and depending on the result tomorrow, of course, there are going to be people on Monday are going to be absolutely joyous going into work, or completely pissed off. They're not going to want to see the schoolmates, the workmates. They're not going to turn on the phone. They are going to turn on the phone. They're definitely not going to want to read Facebook or Twitter or read the messages. That's how big this game is. It is depending on the result, it can either ruin the start of the week or make your week. It's massive. It's a massive, massive game. And for me, it's been like that for years. Interestingly, we have to say is so why do we have this enmity between Liverpool and United? It's because a healthy respect for what each club has achieved. Now, when I say this, I'm talking about somebody who was there seeing it happen. Now, for the majority of people who follow Manchester United's social Twitter account, YouTube account and Facebook account, you have no comprehension of how good Liverpool were. In fact, even the people who run these Twitter accounts, Facebook accounts and YouTube accounts, they have no comprehension of these things either. You see all these presenters, doing the full-time Devils and the ones doing it from the other channels doing it from mock-up studios or from the bedrooms of the lounge. All these guys, without any doubt at all, are all under 30. Now, Liverpool last won their league, about 25 years ago, which means, they probably weren't even born. Or if they were born, they were just born. And when you're 5 years of age, for instance, not another team apart from your own team, which you maybe your dad's taking to club matches, you have no comprehension of what's happening. I think, to be honest with you, when you really feel it and when you really get football and you really get it is when you're in your teenagers, when you're when you're about 15. I think that all of a sudden you're old enough to understand a bit more of the game and the dynamics of the game and what's going on. So in other words, for you to really appreciate how good Liverpool were, you'd at least have to be 40, and that was only them winning their last, coming towards their decline. To understand how good they were in the 70s, during the 70s and the mid 80s, you'd have to be over 50, like myself, to understand how good this team were. So it is a bit comical when you you see other people going on about the the enmity between United and Liverpool and what's it all about. Well, to be honest with you, if you weren't there at the time, you have no comprehension of what it was all about. So I'll tell you what it was all about as somebody who was there at the time. Liverpool, between the 70s and the 80s, incredibly won the league 11 times. That is just unbelievable. 11 times they won the Football League. They won the old European Cup, as it were, 4 times during that period. So they not only dominated English football, they were dominating European football as well. And they just had a succession of great players, one after the other. They get rid of, like, Keegan goes. Okay, wow, how will they cope after Keegan goes? They bring in Dalglish. After Dalglish, Ian Rush, and this is what happened with them in enough every aspect of their team. Even with the managers, they had like a succession of great managers as well. So they just continued this dominance in English football. They were unbelievable. They weren't a dull and boring team either. You know, you used to watch Liverpool, that the team that United played in the 77 Cup final. What a great team that was. They just won the league. Luckily, we beat them in the FA Cup to stop them getting the treble. Then they went on to win their first European Cup. Some great players, really good players. Some players I absolutely couldn't stand. I couldn't stand a guy called Tommy Smith, who none of you probably know who he is. I couldn't stand that guy at all. I didn't like Jimmy Case either. Didn't like him either. But there were other players you just thought were just sublime. A guy called Steve Highway was a fantastic player, and of course I think they even did this thing between the two centre forwards, John Toshak and Kevin Keegan. They actually had I think they did something called Satan Greaves at the one where they were trying to see if there might be a bit of telepathy going on between the two of them, and I think they found out it wasn't. They were just trying to figure out how come they were so good at scoring the goals that they did. But Liverpool football team were great. They had this guy called Fairclough, called Super Sub. He used to like just come off the bench and always score, and he did it in like a total run of games. He was like he was sort of a gingerhead lanky version of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. He was unbelievable. The Liverpool team were good. There's no doubt about it, and they just kept on being good and being good and being good. And a lot of the players they got were British-based players. A lot of them were players that came from Scotland as well. You know, and this is what Liverpool managed to get all the best Scottish players, and we'd get maybe the players they didn't want, sort of thing. Liverpool were a great team. They were a fantastic team, and you have to hold your hands up sometimes and just admit, yeah, they were a great team. Now, that's not so bad in them being a great team, but to actually be brought up and live amongst that is even worse. And that's the position I was in, because I was brought up in a town called Ellesmere Port. If you want to Google it, you'll find out that it is only, the thing that separates Ellesmere Port and Liverpool is the River Mersey. That's as close as you can get to Liverpool without being Liverpool, unless you're Birkenhead, of course. So it's at the bottom of something called the Wirral Peninsula. And basically, without a shadow of doubt, the whole of the Wirral, most of the Wirral, are Liverpool fans. They're all Liverpool fans. And then you go across the water, and they're mostly, of course, there are Evertonian fans, and there's Tranmere Rovers at the top. But by and large, going to Chester, they're all Liverpool fans. All my neighbours, when I was brought up, were Liverpool fans. All my relatives, apart from one, was a Liverpool fan. They were all Liverpool fans. Everybody I went to work with was a Liverpool fan. Everybody I went to school with, apart from one who was a United fan, were Liverpool fans. They were all Liverpool fans. It was unbelievable. When I started work, it was just full of Liverpool fans. And of course, when the famous Liverpool perm style by Souness became popular, and I think even Phil Thompson got one as well, pathetic. Even the guys started coming into work with their calm down, perms. It just looked ridiculous, but, this is what they did. Where I lived and where I was brought up, unfortunately, I was surrounded by them, completely and utterly surrounded by them. I couldn't get away from it. And so for me personally, it was awful to see, it rubbed into you time and time again how good this team was. You know, it was just rubbed in everywhere you went. You couldn't escape it. Your neighbours, your relatives, your schoolmates, and then moving on to your workmates. Couldn't get away from the fact that it was full. The place was full of Liverpool supporters, and to be a United supporter during that time when we were particularly poor for a long, long time, it was crap. And the only thing, the only joy I had against that club of any notable worth in the whole of the 70s, whole of those 10 years, was the time that we beat them in the FA Cup. It was brilliant. It was fantastic. It was the day after you went into school with your head held high for the first time. I'd have a sack ad in the back of me. I used to take all my stuff in the school, and on the back of me have a sack. I wrote down every player that played for United, what the results, where it was, Wembley, who scored, the whole thing. I put it down there because you had to celebrate the fact they won the European Cup, you know, a number of days later, was inconsequential to me. Finally, we had something to be proud of. We'd actually won the FA Cup, and in fact, to be honest with you, that team who won the FA Cup is probably my favourite United team of all time. I know all the players, in fact, I know all the players who played in that bloody team, but we were a great team. We had flair players as well. It was an attacking team. Some of the goals we scored were brilliant. It was just very sad that after winning the FA Cup, that United decided to sack their manager, Tommy Docherty, because he was having an affair with the physio's wife, I believe. And of course, we got Sexton, and we know what happened for the next 3 years. Not a lot. So that was that. But anyway, getting back to Liverpool. So anyway, so that understands why I personally, was really haunted by this team's great success. So of course, I moved to Scotland only to find out that when I moved up here, Liverpool was everybody's second team. This is maybe something to do with a lot of Scottish players went down to play to Liverpool, so they were Scottish international players. So naturally, you're going to say, well, they play for Liverpool. They were the second team. It was a lot of them were Liverpool fans when I moved to Scotland. I couldn't get away from them. Really couldn't get away from them, and it had a bad effect. I think United fans all over were haunted by the success of that club. And of course that continued for all the 70s and the 80s. And then luckily there was a change in fortune, because Ferguson did in England what he'd done in Scotland. He broke the power of the most dominant club. In Scotland it was Rangers and Celtic. It just took it in turns to win all the trophies in the league. Ferguson went in there and said, right, okay, I'm gonna stop this, and he did stop this. That's probably why United picked him to go, from Aberdeen to go to Old Trafford to try and do the same, because United were a sleeping giant. And luckily Ferguson within time woke up that sleeping giant, and he managed to do what we sing about all these years ago. He managed to knock them off their perch. And that's why this fixture is so big. We're talking about that the two the two clubs have won everything there is to win, and that they are the two most successful teams in England. I think there's a debate over which one is the most successful, but I think United, I think we need to, you'll see one poll says we are, then the other one says Liverpool, but I think apparently Liverpool just do edge it, so still they are the most successful English team, so we still need to win that one trophy. Carling Cup would do it, FA Cup would do it. We still need to win. We want to go ahead of them like we did in the league. But this is the thing about why it haunts them so, because a lot of the Liverpool supporters are the same age as these young dudes who do all the websites, who do all the Twitter accounts, who are out interviewing people on the streets. All these guys who are, under 30. And a lot of the people who go to Anfield now are the same age, the young dudes. And of course, for them personally, they have to hear from the dad of how great the Liverpool side used to be. And they've never seen the team ever win the league. Never seen it. And they only have to recount on the stories, oh, Dad, can you tell me about the good times when we used to be really, really good and win the league year after year? Right, lad, sit down here and I'll tell you about those times. Well, this is why there's an utter frustration with that team and that fan base at the moment. which is why it was so good. It was so finally brilliant to see Liverpool just fall spectacularly, and for United fans to join in, and me being in Old Trafford, being able to sing to them, "You're not famous anymore." It was just, after all those years of having to pull up with Liverpool rammed down my throat, to finally to see them fall from such a great height was brilliant. And this is why this fixture means more to me anything. It means more to me than the Manchester derby does, because I'm not from Manchester, so I don't have you know, it doesn't have the same appeal to me or feeling as me. Anybody, for instance, who may think to themselves, well, hold on, we want LVG to go, as I do, but obviously I don't want to say, well, if he loses the Liverpool game, he'll get sacked on the Monday. There is no circumstances whatsoever do you want United to lose any game at all for him to get the sack, especially playing Liverpool. There's no reason in God's earth to want us to lose this game tomorrow. It's huge. You know, potentially Liverpool may win the Carling Cup. Maybe the two of us, one of us may win the FA Cup. None of us are going to win the league, obviously. And so you have to say that, you know, at the end of the season, none of us may win a trophy, and your bragging rights are going to be based on those two games. Luckily, we won the one at home. We just need to win the one away, and then we've just done the double over them this season. You know, just like just like we've done in the past. That's what you know, the bragging rights. The interesting thing is the fortunes of the two clubs now. The fortune that we both find ourselves in. We're both through this transitional stage where we're clearly not as good as we want to be, and obviously we're having problems with players, and they've had their problems with their managers as well. So yeah, it's interesting. And it's the one game tomorrow. It's the one game I really wish more than any other I was at. But unfortunately, due to financial restraints, I will not be at that game. So I'll just be like all the other 700 million will be sat down at home watching the game via the TV. And hopefully United are going to win. I really hope we're going to win. And I'll have a few drinks beforehand to get into the swing of things. But I really, really hope that we win. But anyway, that's an explanation, my own personal explanation of why this fixture is so big. And, you know, like I said to you before, unless you're my age, unless you're as old as I am, that you really get what this is about, and how good that team were, and how good we became. And it was fantastic. It was really good. So I thank Alex Ferguson every night for knocking that team off the perch, and long may they stay off the perch. I know we've sort of fallen off it a bit, but potentially we could climb back up on that perch. But whatever happens, we never ever want that team to get back on the perch again. No, I had enough of it for 20 years. You know, I've had enough of them on that perch to last a lifetime, because it felt like a lifetime. And I don't want Benji to go through that either. It was horrible, and it probably never happen again. So anyway, yeah, I better go to bed, and I'll be up early in the morning to watch the game, and I'll probably see you then. Bye.